There was something in the ditch with me. For backstory, I was at my friend's house. There were 10 of us. 9 of them were my friends, and the other was my friend's sister. We'll just call her Ella. We were outside around 11 o'clock at night playing Ghost in the graveyard. I was one of the 4 taggers. The other 3 were Ella, Dan and Kenny. The layout of behind my friend's house was a hill up to his gated yard, and then below it a large field. After the field, the ground sloped down into a ditch sort of thing with lots of trees. The ditch was only about 10 or 15 feet wide before reaching the fences of the house in behind it. Now, into the story. We went into the field, and Ella, who had the strongest and brightest flashlight, flashed her light around to see if we could find anyone. Then, in the ditch, we saw someone's head. It was up in a way like they were laying in the grass looking at us. We couldn't make out who it was, so they sent me over there to go try to tag them, or at least run them out of the ditch to the field where the other taggers could get him. I headed into the ditch and began looking around. I was the only one without a flashlight, so I couldn't see much, but the place was kind of creeping me out, so I just decided to give up and go out. I was about 3/4 of the way back to the other taggers when they all pointed. I looked back, and there it was again. That same head looking at us from down in the ditch. When the light shined on it, they quickly ran back into the ditch. Before I could say anything, Ella, Dan and Kenny all kneeled down and yelled, "Not it!" So I sighed and asked for a flashlight at least. Dan gave me his. His was the weakest since it was running out of battery. I headed yet again back down to that ditch. I searched for about 10 minutes, freaking out. I swear I could see the stupid head looking at me from behind trees or bushes, but when my eyes focused, there was nothing there. Then the worst part happened. I was at the beginning of the ditch and just decided to head to the end and try to flush them out. But Kenny must have forgot I was still searching down there, because then he ran over and yelled to everyone else, Guys, over here, I found 2 people in the ditch. Come on, I can't get them both." I looked up at Kenny, and he said something like, "Oh hey, it's just you here. I could have sworn I saw someone behind you." I froze. Then I swung around, again nothing. Kenny then started running back to everyone else yelling, "False alarm." I quickly ran after him, not wanting to spend a second longer in that place. When I headed back, I told them the story, and they started to freak out, and they all said they had seen something. Like Dan said he saw someone's legs behind a tree, someone who had been hiding. We called time out, and well, everyone ran back to my friend's backyard. There were 2 groups, one with 4 people, the other with 2. Neither of the groups said they were hiding in the ditch. In fact, none of them had even been near it. Chills went down my spine. I was freaking out, whispering to myself, then what the fuck was in there with me? Who the fuck was watching me? Who was that? My friend noticed and got his parents, who just said it must have been a teenager playing a prank on us. Everyone thought I was making it up. Everyone thought I was going crazy or just trying to get attention. But I know damn well that I'm not going crazy, and that wasn't a teenager, but something else. Our bizarre experiences with the forest behind our house eventually forced us to move out. I was 8 years old when we first moved into the house on the edge of the forest. My parents had their doubts about buying a house with a backyard bordered by forest, You know, they had concerns about wild animals getting into our bins or hurting our dogs, and were worried one of us might go too far into the trees and get lost. But it was cheap. My dad liked the seclusion, my mum loved the house itself, and my siblings and I were excited about playing in the backyard and exploring the forest. Our first sign that something wasn't right was that our dogs were absolutely terrified of the forest. They never went into the forest for any reason. If a toy they'd been playing with found its way past the tree line, they would refuse to retrieve it, and when one of us went in, they would pace anxiously until we returned. On occasion, we'd notice the dogs staring at the spot in the forest in obvious distress, sometimes growling or barking, but we could never see anything there. My brother once carried one of the dogs into the trees to show her there was nothing scary about it, but she wriggled out of his grip and sprinted into the house in a panic. If we were in the backyard when it was getting dark, we sometimes heard noises like someone was walking through the forest, sticks crunching underfoot, branches being pushed aside. If we called out, there was no response, but if we shined a flashlight around, we would occasionally catch a glimpse for just a split second of something that we could swear looked like a person walking around in the dark. My parents quickly banned us from entering the forest at all after dark, and even during the day we weren't allowed to go out of sight of the house. My sister's bedroom window looked out at the backyard and the forest beyond, and she remembers looking out her window one night and seeing a shadowy figure standing right at the edge of the backyard. She says there was something wrong with it, like it wasn't quite standing on the ground, and it was a little too tall to be a person, and it was sort of distorted, and she was convinced it was staring at her. She called for our dad, saying there was a man in the yard staring through her window, and when he ran outside to chase off whoever it was, she continued to watch the figure. It didn't move away, but when the light from our dad's flashlight passed over it, it suddenly just wasn't there anymore. We regularly heard knocking at the back door at night with no one there. Our parents thought it was teenagers playing pranks and stopped bothering even opening the door until one rainy night when the knocking was persistent and agitated. My mum pointed out there might be someone needing shelter from the heavy rain outside, but when she opened the door, not only was there no one there were no wet footprints on the porch. The knocking continued the whole time we lived there. It would happen several times in the span of a few weeks, then stop for months, then start up again. My parents eventually installed a security camera, and there was never anyone at the door. The camera wasn't all useless, though. About 3 years into living there, my brother started having night terrors and sleepwalking. When he went sleepwalking, he would always go out the back door and start walking towards the forest. My mum, being a light sleeper, would hear the door open and would run out to get him before he made it into the forest. After the third or fourth time it happened, my brother asked to see the camera footage, because he wanted to see how he looked when sleepwalking, I guess thinking it'd look funny. The footage showed him walking out onto the porch, then pausing as if listening to something and shaking his head, then reluctantly walking forward as if being pulled or forcefully guided by something. One evening, my dad was in the backyard, and he heard my sister calling him from the forest, seemingly in distress. Thinking she'd gone exploring in the forest and fallen over and hurt herself, he ran in and started calling to her, but quickly realized it was too dark to see her, and he couldn't pinpoint where her voice was coming from. He told her to wait where she was while he grabbed a flashlight. When he ran back into the house for the flashlight, he saw my sister inside, safe and completely unconcerned. At the time, my dad hadn't told us about hearing my sister's voice in the forest, so when I heard my mum's voice coming from the forest months later while I was outside with the dogs one evening, I didn't question it despite the fact I'd seen my mum inside recently and hadn't noticed her walk past me. My mum was calling to me, saying she'd gotten her sweater caught in some branches and needed me to come in and help her. As I walked in, the dogs started barking, alerting my dad, who saw me through the window wandering into the forest. He came outside and called to me, and I said I was just helping Mum. He yelled back that Mum was inside and I needed to run back to the house as fast as I could, which I did. After this, my parents had a fence built around the backyard and started looking for a new place. In the time between the fence being built and us moving out, it got way worse. We'd hear knocking at the door more regularly, as well as tapping on the windows, as if someone was walking the perimeter of the house and trying every window. We would often hear scratching and scraping sounds on the fence and voices beyond it. My brother's night terrors got more frequent, and, well, one night my mum didn't hear the door open when he went sleepwalking, and he woke up standing at the fence, just staring into the forest, with the dogs barking at him. The last morning we spent there, less than 4 years after we moved in, we woke up to find the back door fully open, and the security camera footage showed it slowly swing open on its own. Since moving out, my brother's sleepwalking has stopped, though he still gets night terrors, and honestly, he suffers from pretty severe anxiety. A few nights ago, he called me out of the blue, and after a bit of small talk, he asked me if I think the door being open that final night means whatever was out there finally got in. He was trying to make light of it, saying he was getting into the spirit of Halloween, joking about how maybe we should all get exorcised, just in case something latched onto us all those years ago. But I think he's deeply bothered by everything that happened. I know I still get nervous around dark wooded areas. I don't know what I think was out there in the forest behind our house at night, but I get the feeling that given the chance, it would have swallowed us whole. When I was a kid, I lived out in the woods with my family. Our neighbours' houses were visibly close to ours, but no closer than that. During night time, it would be black outside, no other light than a distant window. This house was known for being haunted. We once had a medium over to look at the house. The medium didn't even enter the house, as she stated that it was like a highway for paranormal activity. So, one night, I was staying up late during a weekend, just waiting for my parents to finally go to sleep. They were watching a movie from their home country, you know. See, I was born and raised up here, but my parents, well, they actually came from another country. Anyway, after a while, they eventually went to sleep. I turned on my computer and started doing all the sorts of things a kid does on a computer, playing some games and such, you know. I played some Elder Scrolls Skyrim. I played as a magic user. Later this night, as I was preparing to sleep, I was watching a movie. Suddenly, I could hear something outside. It sounded like a person running, but as I put more thought into it, I noticed that it was running much faster than what a person should be able to. The footsteps were not as heavy as any moose, nor as elegant as any deer. Then it stops right outside. It stops instantly, without any deceleration. It's at the main door. The main door leads inside, and then there is a hallway, with a set of stairs and a door. The door leads into the living room where I currently am, and at the window, facing towards the main door, I sit. I look through the window. I can't see anything moving. All I see is complete darkness. Something begins to happen. I start hearing something. I turn off the movie and I listen. I guess I can only describe it as crows talking. I try to listen to what is being said. I can't hear any details though, but it sounds like a conversation. I try to focus some more and I focus only on the conversation. Suddenly it stops, just as I am thinking that I'm about to figure out what is being said. I then get this odd feeling that whatever it is that was talking had figured out that I was listening, somewhat as if it could read my mind. Now I start hearing slow and steady footsteps from out in the hallway right outside the living room. The main door didn't even open. The footsteps walk towards the door that leads to me. Once it's at the door, it stops. I listen for a moment, waiting for the door to open. Then the footsteps start to slowly go towards the stairs instead. I hear it walking steadily up the stairs, and then through the door on the second floor. The footsteps continue to walk until it's standing right on top of me up on the second floor. I am now currently standing, paralyzed. And then it continues, but now it was moving towards a different location. Right next to the room it was currently in was the room that my parents were currently sleeping in. I hear it open the door and it stepped into their room. It all went silent, and it stayed dead silent for the rest of the night. And this sums up a type of experience that could be expected weekly in our old house in the forest. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed these chilling tales, please like, comment and subscribe to Dispander. Don't forget to ring the notification bell so you never miss a new story. See you in the next one.